How's it going, everybody? I'll get you in here, Kate. Just one second. Let me get it all set up. Hang on. I'm a little rusty. It's been a few days, but we're fixing to do about 50, 51 days straight of shows, probably with a few days off. All right. Let me pull you up, Kate. Let's see. Hang on a second. Oh, here we go.
All right. You can hear me now, probably. Yes.
I can hear you, but I can't see you. I got no video.
Yeah, I'm getting
there
ready to
you
get
are.
on. There I am.
God, anytime we have problems, let's see here. Let me just read Dr. Joe's comment. Hi, both. Although I can only see Todd, I am at work, so just popped in to say hi.
I just hit start my video.
Yeah, you're good. I can see you. Yeah, right on. Yeah, we're good. All right. So let's, sorry about this late start. I'm a little bit rusty. If these shows resonate with you, please share so we can stay above these algorithms, because we're fixing to blow it out for the next 51 days. And we're starting it off with the beautiful, beloved sister, Kate Lumley. Now, I'm a little confused because we've talked a couple of times, like I have with a lot of people, and then they kind of like the conversation doesn't continue till months later. And I could have sworn you were with Dr. Joe. He's your buddy. You're in England. And then I get some voicemails from you yesterday, and you have a Texas accent. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
I know it.
So I was like, okay, let's set this show up. You're 5 hours ahead of me. And you're like, no, I'm actually in Texas, which is where I'm from. So
I know, fellow Texan. It's great.
Yeah. What part of Texas are you in?
I'm in Houston. I've lived in Dallas before, and now currently in Houston. Yeah.
I lived in Houston. I lived in Houston off and on for like 25 years.
I remember that we communicated that way. I know what I love about Texans is we love to kick the dust up, right?
Yeah, right. Don't let the grass grow under your feet.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit. I mean, I've seen you out there. You're friends with Dr. Joe. I don't know what the hell's the matter with you in that regard, but he's I guess everybody everybody needs a friend. How did you meet Dr. Joe if you're from Texas? Because I can tell by your connection, you're very close.
Yes, we are. So the world is shrinking, right? As consciousness expands. It really doesn't matter where we sit on the planet. The plan is that we're going to be connecting with those that were divine blueprinted to bring about the plans that are encoded in us. And Joe and I both embraced an opportunity with Humanity's team about 3 years ago now to partake in a several-month conscious business enterprise. So we both had conscious businesses that were expanding and beginning, and we both wanted to learn more about that. So we connected there at the heart level. And I remember very distinctly the day that I heard his voice state in a Zoom room, much like this, but I couldn't see his face.
Yeah.
I heard him say, cultivate your inner smile. And it just hit me. And, thoughts become things. I sit here now sipping a drink out of a mug that has an image that says that exact same thing. That was the thought that I heard him say out loud. I then co-created and put it on a mug with a funny image of a being not being a sheep, but being its unique divine being you. Wow. The divine feminine you, the female sheep, the creative, the right side, right? Yeah. So that's how it began. And then he and I resonated so much so that we started realizing that we held different pieces of each other's puzzle, and we were beehiving ourselves in community and starting to co-create content together. So inside of the platform, let me just pause and breathe for a minute.
Yeah, pause and breathe.
I'm a visionary artist.
You're what?
A visionary artist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I had this vision given to me as something I had no idea how to do it. What I was being shown was creating the next iconic platform of whimsy to expand consciousness and celebrate the I am presence of each being their divine nature.
Yeah. What's whimsy?
whimsy is think bright, bold, playful,
Oh, okay. I thought you meant it was like a
whimsical,
site. Okay. I thought you
whimsical.
meant it. Yeah, yeah. I thought you meant it was like a site, a website. Okay. So okay, let me recap this because that's a lot of information. So you and Dr. Joe met in a an online business course or something, right?
So,
You,
Neil Donald Walsh,
yeah, yeah.
Conversations with God,
Yeah.
his group, Humanities Team,
Okay.
that group was doing a conscious business enterprise.
Okay,
Yes.
so out of all these people on Zoom with faceless voices, you connect with Dr. Joe and you have like a soul recognition, and then you start to collaborate and co-create and yeah, recall your connection. Very cool. And so you ended up going to England to visit him, or were you there for other reasons?
Yes, for multiple reasons. I was there
Mhm.
for a number of reasons. I have a daughter that is into the
Mhm.
performing arts, and I was
Yeah.
there for her passion, developing that with her theater company. And then we combined that with a trip with some of my funny friends, the fun energy friends, the funny friends,
Yeah, like Dr. Joe.
like Dr. Joe. Dr. Lightheart is what we call him inside
He's
of
he's a
Utopia.
bit funny with his rainbow underwear. And
He's really, he's woolly funny. Very, very.
so
I,
you when you talked about this saying that this adage that Dr. Joe said it was what about the smile? What was it? What's on your
cultivate,
coffee?
cultivate your
Cultivate
inner smile.
cultivate the inner smile. And then you mentioned that you then created or co-created this mug, and that the image and everything was for coming from you as the feminine, right? The feminine.
Mhm.
So this seems to be a pretty good lead in, because there seems to be an apparent final embracement, I guess, or acknowledgement or allowance of the feminine stepping into her power fully, which we all know has to happen fully, or nothing's going to change. Although things have changed a little bit, and we all know that. But my point is w- does that resonate with you? Are you stepping into your divine feminine? What does that mean, and what do you have to let go of to get there?
Wow, is that so loaded? And yes, I am stepping into my power. I believe that I am a holder of dreams. The vehicle that I am bringing into being is a container, a culture, a community to hold other I ams who are stepping into their power. Because the divine feminine, as I've come to see it and feel it and be it, is inside of each of us in balance, the divine feminine, the divine masculine. So this reemergence of the divine feminine stepping into the power is not gender specific. It's each of us stepping into our creativity and our divine spark and our emotion awareness, the energy in motion, the emotion that we are experiencing. That's the divine feminine. And through our consciousness and self awareness, we can attract more of the experiences that we want to have. It's first through self awareness. You must first know yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I also think that we're in a duality. The last line of the duality or separation is gender. Because if there's no difference in gender, everything else would be easy to get over. But there's also, we're moving into the Trinity, or we're in the Trinity now, where the masculine and the feminine do balance, and they create a third energy. And this is how creation 369 Tesla propels itself. But what I'm getting at is, one of the things that we try to pull out in Soulogy is let's say there's a book for 3D and there's a book for 5D, but there's no book for in between. And we're in between. So we're part multidimensional, in our full consciousness at times. And sometimes we're extremely human and everything in between.
Absolutely.
So my question is, everything that we're doing inside of ourselves is externalizing, no doubt. And a big part of that, which took a long time for me to accept, is that we have chosen genders. and that somehow in the externalization, the physical matter of the gender, we are fulfilling something, knowing that we're masculine and feminine, in spirit and in soul. But there's some type of significance to the fact that we have a chosen gender here
Oh
and
yeah.
the role that it plays. So my question is, in that quasi-human, multidimensional, schizophrenic frequency that we're all transitioning through, as a on the human level, from the human aspect, what have you had to do, to further step into the divine feminine? Obviously you'd
Yeah.
be losing wounded feminine, but also wounded masculine, I would think. I mean, can you shed any light on that?
Sure. And you're asking what I've had to, face, the fears and what I've had to get
Yeah,
rid of.
yeah,
So the journey for me that I would say has been a little bit more than a decade at this
yeah,
point, that I've been in this awareness of overcoming the fears of what are those voices that I'm hearing outside of my head. And when I would speak to my loved ones and share what I now know to be my higher self or guides or influences that are wanting to communicate with me from the higher light, I'm only working with the light. And so I never felt afraid of it, but I was afraid to talk about it. I was afraid to speak to people about it because of their reaction. I was
yeah,
curious about it. It was fun for me. I was fascinated. I really literally started hearing voices outside of my head that were like someone was talking to me, but I was the only one in the room. So that was really one of the first beginnings. Then I think the fear of seeing how big I was expected to rise into
yeah,
and step into something. And I didn't know how to do what I was being shown an end game vision of. And what I started to recognize is the human part of myself, right?
all right,
Doing what I can do in the moment of the power of now. And started having resources, started coming into my um, expanding consciousness. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? So reading books like The Power of Now and some basic, The Power of Intention. A very
yeah,
dear friend, Greg, handed me the book that was a life game changer by Wayne Dyer. When I read The Power of Intention, it was things that were happening in my physical world that
yeah,
was giving sense. And he was one of the first beings that wasn't telling me that I was crazy, but telling me that I was divine and this was part of the plan. It's beautiful, right? And now what I love about what you're doing here is you're creating a space for so many beings who are all on their own unique path that have so many different
yeah,
experiences with the coding that's in them to bring about
yeah,
their plan, that people can listen to your show and watch all these different ways of being and
yeah,
relate or not relate. It's all great, but it's
yeah,
honoring, respecting. I
mhm,
had to go through the process of being my weird and being okay with it and recognizing that that's where the genius lives
yeah,
and redefining and reframing that. So being bolder, you know, saying, look at me. It's okay to look at me. I'm okay being looked at because the work that I am a custodian of is meant to be shared. It's meant to be looked at. It's not supposed to sit in my art studio or in my home on a wall. It's supposed to get out there in a variety of different ways that are always emerging. So
yeah,
getting over fears of not knowing how to do things,
yeah,
the strange experiences that I was having that were it you know what, it builds on itself. You know, when you realize that you start to evolve to getting into having conversations with nature, it's really profound and just expanding, 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 and battling each fear that arises and reframing it with love.
yeah.
What is the love here for me?
So from your etheric, non-physical, let's just say, connections, and from your physical matter, such as nature, connections, you're downloading this, everything that you have in 10 years, and then you're uh, injecting that into your human experience. You mentioned a
Mhm.
while ago the power of now, being present. It sounds like you reduced distraction and are comfortably relaxed, consistently, being present with yourself and you're growing. In terms of the business part of it, let's just use that old 3D term, how you met Dr. Joe, that was I'm sure that was a pretty big group. I mean, Neil Donald Walsh is a big guy. I mean,
Mhm.
now my question is in terms of uh, propelling the business entity or the energy of the business that you are in, or Dr. Joe's in, or that I'm in, would you say that have you tried the typical masculine structure, control, strategy, planning, forecasting? Have you used a method of the feminine where it's creative, spontaneous, intuitive? Have you done both? How's
Yes,
it?
both. So my background is that I have worked for 2 decades in corporate structure and corporate America for a Fortune 200 company as business development management in the international space. So I absolutely understand corporate structure, hierarchies, and have a propensity for business.
Mhm.
The entrepreneurial heartpreneur of myself is co-creating what we now call the new cooperation. It is the way that we will move forward with each being one whole thing that comes
Mhm.
together and is added into the SUM thing called utopia. The
Yeah.
sum thing is one whole parts with each being their conscious energy optimizer
Yeah.
of their own business. They never lose the integrity of that whole business that they are the expert on. That's their genius. They bring that into the whole. And what we do inside of this cooperation, so I'll take an example of an artist that I represent, Andy Arnold. Andy Arnold, CEO. That was his platform before I ever met him. See, the signs are already there. We see one another. And Andy Arnold is a 22-year-old young man from Little Rock, Arkansas, that has Andy's Chairs, is how he began. Someone told him because he was labeled as having Down syndrome that he couldn't be independent and have his own business. He said,
Mm.
"Not, you're not talking to the right person. I am a creator." And he creates beautiful galactic work. He's very connected to spirit. He knows that God is working through him.
Wow.
So when we work with Andy as a cooperation, we are promoting him and finding ways to expand his message and get it into the right avenues and veins. He never loses his business. He just gets expanded inside of this. And inside of the cartoon world of Utopia, he is a cartoon character called Ant E. Will. And he will. Andy, Auntie will. So it
Mm.
transfers inside of the cartoon
Mm.
to the real life person. It brings it back. And he has his platform of celebrating that diff abilities are divinely designed. They are
Yeah.
to bring about each of us being our piece, our
Yeah.
PEACE of the puzzle. So these characters teach very important messages about taking ant steps
Yeah.
one at a time. You make climbing mountains look like ant hills. That's just one character, right? But
Yeah.
and that's how this works.
No, I
So
get that. I get that. This is the
collaboration
same.
at the highest
Yeah,
level of integration.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is what Vera Ingeborg and Augusti Sala are doing at Fast Forward Movement. This is what Soulogy's trying to do.
Mhm.
The vision is to continue to add frequencies to an ever expanding vibration, which is to me the same thing you're talking about. And as I listen to you, I can totally align with it, effortlessly. But I also notice as I listen to you that this is the feminine frequency. This is the letting go. This is the no competition and no comparison. This is what I love too is that example you gave, because there's so many stories within that story. But Andy's allowed to do what he's here to do.
Yes.
He's allowed to be the number one specialist out of 8 billion souls in what he does. And you and that energy of your business and those involved provides what they do. Each individual does and loves doing and is the best at. So it all fits. And I believe the other thing I would add to this too, because I think we're on the same path, is the whole thing about getting together in person. Like, just as an example, we're going to do an event tomorrow that was planned 3 or 4 days ago. where maybe 10 people are coming, and now it looks like 40, 50 people are coming. We cannot underestimate the physical interaction. There's something that happens when we bring it to the physical level and we embody it, such as your experience with Andy,
Yeah.
Vera and Augusti, and the people they work with, the people that we collaborate with. Bottom line is that when the more we connect it in the physical, the more it ignites the other dimensions and timelines that we exist in that are somehow or another connected to us and or helping us and gaining from us and all that. So I just want to make that point. I really feel that you did a great job of explaining, uh, well, or carrying the energy through your explanation of what the divine feminine, creative, intuitive, spontaneous, imaginative energy is that we've been missing. So thank you.
And thank you for all you do, Todd. As you just stated, I see the same as you reflect back to me, that you're creating that with Soulogy and the studios that you're doing. You're bringing together these, you're beehiving as well. The hive mentality is now shifting. We're not competing, we're collaborating. We're making the golden elixir in utopia. See, what we are in utopia is the lighter side of the woo-woo. And we take really deep concepts. So we use the golden honey, the gold inside of yourself. Yeah. The sweet spot is that elixir, that honey that is created by you pollinating your love and kindness all over. And it alchemically creates your sweet life together. So we are, all of utopia smells like honey, and the scent, it just fills our hearts, right? As we just stay in this being, this state of being, not doing. And we play with these words. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun to get together in the physical, like you said, because when you're dealing with compassionate, kind, loving beings who are being their genius,
yeah,
wow, what you're creating. So that very nation, I just can transition, like I gave you the example of Andy. Paul Luftenegger has been one of your guests. We're already in Soul Family, right? So Paul is an international singer. I found him divinely listening to music. He popped up on my Facebook one day. I listened to the music, and the codex that was in his music, the frequency, literally had the hair stand up on the back of my neck, the inner voices, all bells going off, saying, this is for utopia, pay attention. I stopped what I was doing, I sat down and I listened. I uploaded all of his music onto my iPod, paying for it. I'm shifting the energy as well because I'm paying for the genius. I know that it's available out on YouTube, but I'm honoring those artists who I respect and want to bless because they're blessing us, right? So I uploaded and paid for all of his music and began to paint with it. What started to happen for me, Todd, was me starting to understand something that I had not yet experienced with music. Other fellow creators are picking up frequencies inside of these messages that are embedded. And if it's part of the plan, for me, in this case, it was for him and I to align, an entire being came into being. As I was painting on May 6th at 2:00 in the morning, ready to go to bed, a canvas needed to be painted. And I heard a voice say, I'm ready to be born. And I was like, what are you talking about? Who are you? I pulled out my canvas, put it on the easel behind me, and Super Pollinator was born, but literally step by step showing me. They had a purple cape. He was putting on his armor of God, right? His rod of enlightenment with his honey stick, which was his microphone. He had his crown of glory with the divine feminine at the top and the five prongs with the number of change, right? 5 little hearts on the crown. Very specific, Todd. It was crazy. It was like, wow, this creature is calling me and telling me that I'm birthing him right now. And it was
I get it. No, I get it.
Big shift for me.
This is a perfect example of the Trinity energy that we're in. I mean,
yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you basically, in a non-romantic term, which really what we're talking about, even though it sounds weird, is not a romantic love vibration. This is a higher vibration that supersedes that by eons. But my point is, you've got the third energy produced by this masculine energy being received by this feminine energy, or maybe meeting, or whatever you want to call it, and then the creation in the external, in the embodiments, some, as you said, you have this character that is actually not just a drawing on a piece of paper. It's actually a consciousness from another dimension, from an aspect of you, or an aspect of the universe, the you, me, we, and it, that's actually taken, that's actually becoming physical matter in this realm. This, I think, is part of the conversion, and I think that's a great
Mhm.
example. That's a great example.
Thank you. And I think I want to even expand it a little bit more, because going back to you describing the importance of coming together in the physical,
Mhm.
that bee was born literally 1 week after Paul and I had met one another physically in Bermuda. I went to travel and see him where he was, where
Wow.
he lives in Canada and Bermuda. And on April 30th, we came together and I sat down, never having met this man before, but was describing to him the journey that I had been on since 2015 and what was on my heart. We both marveled at the fact that his website was Be Kindness, BEE Kindness. He was already in the collective of the bees that were all over my art. Be love, be passion, be vision, be intention. And so we noticed that sign parody right there. And then he said, and he just sat with his hands on the table and he said, "This is incredible. 2 years ago, I began writing music for Utopia. I have not completed it. I didn't fully see what that was, but that vision and that codex was on my heart. You can't make this stuff up."
No,
It
you
started
can't.
to show me the multidimensionality of the pieces of the puzzle. And
Absolutely.
now I'm a dream catcher. I'm a dream catcher, living, breathing. I'm wired and tapped into other people's pieces of the puzzle that they don't even know that this aspect of their one whole thing that doesn't need a whimsical community to celebrate it and amplify it, because it's already whole and it's awesome. Yeah. But if they want to come and play with us, we have space for everybody. There's no end to this. This is a whole platform to honor the genius I am living their inspiring life. And we wear funny rings like eye rings that are inspiring because we're silly and fun. The coming together in the collective, we're going to be doing this all over the planet in beautiful places to expand and celebrate the message and the being.
And this is how we know that we were part of the perfect design of whatever you want to call this matrix, this realm, whatever, this school, this university. But what you're describing, and what's become more and more obvious, is this non-physical energy. This non-physical energy is the only thing there is. We've somehow or another tapped into it. And through this non-physical, telepathic, intuitive, non-verbalization communication method, these frequencies, these vibrations, we're actually connecting, like in this example with you and Paul, or say a divine couple, or just two people that meet at the store for a moment, and creating a third energy through like intentions. Everybody wants the same thing. You know what I mean? Everybody wants the same thing. And I love what you're saying with Andy and with Paul, because I've watched this for 8 years. I've watched people, particularly in the Soulogy group, where there's just like no rules, and people come in and write stuff from the core of their essence and how it affects other people. And then that person, then, the person that reads it or watches it or whatever it is, then in turn basically gets the etheric balls to go and do it on their own. And then somebody gets that, and then they go do it. And this is unstoppable. And there's something about, embodying. We think of, okay, I've got all this wisdom and love and information and data and code. Now, the only way to embody this, as I see it, is to actually make conscious effort in every moment, like you're talking about. And that sounds so menial and so elementary and so boring compared to all this multidimensional stuff and all the other stuff that happens to us. But that's really what it takes. And the payoff is the other side of that, when you actually do that, that is full alignment with all dimensions, timelines, and bodies. And that's this is like, what the hell's going to happen? You get one person doing it, you get 10 people, you get 100, you get 1,000. Holy effing shift, you know?
Amen. It's
Yeah,
incredible when you start to realize, and it's so important, as you say, to take it from the etheric and the place where it's just sitting in
yeah,
that fertile soil of your imagination and call it forward. Because what you can't see is that you may be holding something that adds intrinsic value to another being's intentions and genius. Adding the things together, they stand alone, but they come together and create even more joy, more blessing, more abundance for others. And this is the piece that is our true divine revaluing ourselves, right? We're having a revalue of our currency. We are our energy, the
that's right.
current that we see. We are this. If I had not taken inspired action to paint the first piece that I could see, none of what's behind me would be there. There wouldn't be the characters that are embodying the characters that are behind me, right? If I hadn't taken the inspired action, I never could have aligned with the beautiful soprano, world-class soprano of Mother Earth, Dominique McCormick, who embodies the character and brings to life Mother Earth. Incredible to have a Parisian opera house singer singing to children and all inner children, our inner child, because I keep mine very close to me. We play together all the time. How great thou art. And the art, A-R-T,
Mm-hmm.
that is inside of our heart is what I'm after. I'm up to helping us mine the gold that is the art that is in our heart so that
You
we can
know,
step into our power.
this is a great example again, too. I mean, the other thing that I would point out, we're in a quantum environment now. You know, what you're doing, I'll use as an example. What you're doing and the people that are collaborating with you, it whether there's 100 people, let's just say, following you, or 1,000,000 people following you, okay, in the physical, you know, where you have hard evidence, it doesn't change the impact, the explosion that's created, the illumination that's created in the holy human hybrid soul grid, you know, the one where we're all holding etheric hands. And I just want to point that out, you know, don't underestimate, you know, there's nothing, it's nothing about, did you make the headlines or do you have 1,000,000 people in your group or whatever the case. When you have this type of pure intention and creation, this is creation. This is how we're expanding creation. Creation's never expanded itself in a density as thick as this realm. We have kicked ass and took names, and we think, oh my God, let's get this shift over, you know, put our feet up on the desk. It's not like that. What we're starting to understand is that we did all this work. We've enough of this work's been done collectively. We all have individual stuff to work on and whatever, but the facts are the facts, and we're now getting to the party. This is the gala. This is the extravaganza. This is the
Yeah.
coronation. This is the blast.
Yes.
I mean, this is where it goes down. So I just want to tell everybody, do your thing, man. Do your thing. Don't worry about how many likes you get. Don't kill yourself trying to validate, some bullshit 3D,
That's all
proof.
manipulated anyway.
That's right. So
It's all manipulated.
yeah,
We don't have to
right.
make them wrong for manipulating. And who's they? It's
Us.
right. It's us. We are all. I'm so honoring what you're saying. I have never one time worried for 1 second about. Well, that's not true. That's so not true. Let me back up and be authentic.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is I've never worried about how many people are following. The reality is the human part of ourselves likes to still be acknowledged and feel good enough.
Of course.
When you asked me at the beginning, what are the things that I had to overcome? That's one of them. Not worrying about that stuff because I know who I am and I know what I'm doing and I know how I'm being and I know why I'm doing it. So there is nothing now that can stop me. The boundaries of where my fear are so far out there that the small stuff doesn't slow me down anymore. And I'm realizing more and more that it all is inside of the word small. All of it's small when I am big enough. When I recognize and own my power, and I have to continually face my fears, because now the things that I'm being asked to do are really, really big. And I still don't know how to do those things yet. I don't know how to coordinate all these different dreams inside of these dreams that can stand alone and manage sovereign beings. I'm figuring that out in the process with respect, honor, love, asking for forgiveness when I make mistakes. Right? It's about, there is a human part of me, but I'm working and operating from the divine side of me. And I'm in alignment and relation with that deeply. I know who I am. And so one of the things that's evolving for me that's a little scary, but I didn't feel ready to be ready to be ready. And then I said, what am I waiting for? It's time. It's go time. Because it was coming to me. Awake TV Network is a new emerging network. It's a beautiful platform. And I'm doing a program on television for 12 weeks. That's way outside of my comfort zone, right? You do this so naturally, Todd. You stand up and you're able to facilitate conversations and do this. This is effortless for you at this point. You've grown into this space of genius. It doesn't begin there. When you're beginning something new, it's not going to look good. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to be comfortable. I shouldn't frame it that way. It might be. I don't want to limit my potential and everything, but I'm setting expectations for myself of loving and kindness, of I'm beginning something new, but it's important that I do it. So I'm not going to wait anymore, because it's too important that I get really good at this. And I'm not going to get good without doing it and being it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right, man. That's what we did. See, we were all up there and they said, who wants to go? And everybody wanted to go pretty much. But the ones that were picked, because you can only fit so many, basically earned it. And I would say, step through the fear, because I'm sure at every level, there's a level of fear, unless we get all back to the 111, which, you know what, we left there for a reason. We left there to go out and have a little fun and experience some things. I want to point out something else about what you said, which I think is important for people as well. And that is, when you were talking about whether how many likes you get, or, that the human likes to be, recognized. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We're trying to figure out where's that balance at, as we're bringing all this stuff in and implementing this stuff, whatever. But one of the things I wanted to point out is when you go forth and you post and you produce and you work and you manage and you represent and market and all this stuff, when you do that without any consideration at all for what type of human attention you get, the results are exponential. And I can speak from experience, because I'm with you. There's a part of me that through the 8 years has gone back to look for the metrics, and then there's a part of me that says, how did it do? But it's gone away. And when I've been able, like, for instance, we went through about 12 months of some heavy suppression from Facebook. And a couple of months ago, or 3 months ago, I can't remember exactly when it happened, I just said, you know what? We can't start the network yet. I don't have another choice. I'm just going to go and F it. I'm not even going to worry about it. And that immediately the metrics doubled, and so this is what I'm getting at. Your energy shifted. When your energy shifted, you started to have a high class problem that is, how am I going to connect all these dots? Because all of a sudden I got about 10 Andys and Pauls and, different things. So how, and it's a quantum equation now. We don't go and write it on a piece of paper and say, okay, A to B to C to D. We go into the golden honey room that you're talking about, the golden particles, and we create it, and it's magic. It's magic, because
pure magic. We are magic, right? This whole way of being is about, when we be our peace, that which brings us peace, that's when our genius can most speak to us. I do notice that when I am connected and I'm painting, I have really euphoric experiences. That's where I get the highest. You know, people say to me and they look at my artwork, do you do drugs? Like, oh my God, drugs wouldn't even know what to do with me. I'm, like,
Yeah, you are the drug.
I am the drug.
Just tell them, hey, I had 7 orgasms while I was doing this one.
I do. I do. It's
I know
incredible what
you
I
do
have.
because I can totally relate. I know exactly
Yeah,
what
I
you're
know
talking about.
you know.
I know I'm exactly what you're talking. That's how Soulogy started,
Yes. It's when the masters can come in and speak to your heart,
Mhm.
when you're open, because it's so wide open. And what is happening through me is now I'm very conscious to paint when I'm feeling peaceful. I don't come into my art studio to paint when my emotions are out of alignment, because I'm a keeper of the love vibration. And
Yeah.
so there's plenty of people who paint the shadow side of ourselves, and I don't ignore the shadow side of myself. I very much am in relation with the shadow, and I do a lot of clearing. You can't be in the light without seeing the darkness.
That's where you find the light. That's
It,
how.
it really
Just
is.
look at the majority of the wake up stories of people who've been on these shows. I mean, you
Right.
went into the abyss. That's the mother goddess. That's the holy darkness. That's the womb, man. That's where you walk into the place and go, I don't know whether to be scared. You're just like in total reverence, but you can't sit there and shake in your boots. She's like that Hindu god Kali. She requires you to be the best you can be.
Yes. And that womb. So I play with words. I decode words to celebrate their ability to help us cast the spells that we use to create our reality with our words. That's why it's called spelling. We are casting out what we want to create as the
Yeah.
wonderful wizards. And when when I'm utilizing those words, being very conscious, I lost my thought real quick. You were saying something that triggered me that I wanted to share. Oh, being able, the womb, it
Yeah.
has OM inside of it, the Om, the place
Yeah.
of creation. So when I realize that I'm out of alignment, the greatest thing that I have now for myself is self-awareness. And I know that I am my point of attraction vibrationally. We all
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
So you don't want to snowball the things that are out of alignment with your intention. So if I get frustrated, I notice that I'm angry. I'll be so mad about something. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God I know I'm angry. Okay, I honor that and I'm grateful for the fact that I know that I'm angry. All of a sudden, my point of attraction becomes gratitude.
Yeah.
And so it slows down. It slows down the energy of that which wants to come to me that is going to
Yeah.
awfulize
The
and
old, the old,
catastrophize,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. The old familiar,
Hand to heart, slow
yeah.
down.
No, I think that's a good point. I think that should be restated too, because we're all going through this. And I think we also got to remember that I'm not who I was a week ago, and you're not who you were a week ago. That we're in a quantum atmosphere, and we should understand that we can all be recognized as a different, a rebirthed, more divine human alignment, or whatever you want to call it, tomorrow, today, whatever.
Yes.
But I think that's a good point, because uh, rather than figuring out whether you're wrong or I'm wrong, or you're right or I'm right, or whether or not, you know, I guess what I'm saying is, the bottom line is, we know when we're pissed off. We know when we're hung up. We know when we're triggered. And I think we're getting to a point now where, at least we have have embodied enough wisdom and had enough experience to, if we can't do anything else, get the fuck out of there and just go somewhere by yourself, go into nature, pull all the personal stuff out of it, because the personal stuff, first and foremost, is intended upon yourself, even if you're not conscious of it, or you want to rationalize it another way. But I guess what I'm saying is, this is the real stuff. And even though you're in these multiple dimensional timelines, creative, wombs with all these people,
Very
and all
much so.
these dots are connected, you still are real enough to say, you know what, I get pissed off. And what do? You allow yourself to feel pissed off and run it through your heart. Yeah. I mean,
Yes. A whole lot of, what do you do? That's a good question, right? Like, so a lot of people ask, what do you do? And the more you step up stating that you're conscious, the more accountability you have to that, right? So people want to know, well, what do? If you probably, you're perfect, you never get mad. No, not true. But I have tools now. So on my phone, and there's always, we all have our phones everywhere we go, right? So there's tools here. I put my hand on my heart, and it's as easy as pressing play. I have conscious music in my phone. And so I pull up Paul Luftenegger and I play the song, My Heart. It's 3 minutes. You know what I'm doing? I'm doing this in corporate environments. I'm going in and I have people who are telling me they're stressed out. And I'm taking this consciousness into culture that traditionally doesn't talk about things at the heart level. But we're never going to get into any serious business of any sustainable solutions with any business partners if we're not first caring about their well-being.
That's right.
Right?
No more rigidity, no pun intended. We need to soften
Say that again?
up. I said no more rigidity, no pun intended. We need to soften up and
soften up. Be bold. Be boldly soft. You know, I was.
But be bold with your heart. You know. But I get what you're saying. I come from a corporate background too, and you know, it was just, and I was a senior executive for many years. So, you know, I tried to be. I thought I was empathic and sympathetic and fair, but you know, at the end of the day, it's my way or the highway. But in a very soft way, in a very heavy environment, you know, very alpha male environment. But you're right. I mean, be bold with your heart. You know, be bold enough to enforce. You know, like your business enterprise. And I brought up Vera and Augusti at Fast Forward, and I've watched them over the past year. They're offered like you know, like $1 million deal, and you know, and she looked at it, the feminine, you know, I think gets it first. She looked at it, and you know, Chris Augusti was excited. She looked at it and said, no, can't do it. There's no integrity. You know, and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, we're struggling. We're living like Todd and Morgan, you know, we don't, but the point is, you keep holding on the integrity of the reality and the natural nature of the pure consciousness, and we can call it love, whatever you want to call it, that is that Trinity creative energy. You hold on to that, and we're seeing some real evidence in their lives and other people's lives that it is magical. It's beyond magical. We don't even have any concept of where this thing can go and how quick it can happen.
I totally love what I just heard you say about the integrity piece and honoring and understanding that things are on purpose. You know, even hearing you say we're living like Todd and Morgan, and the way that you are living, Todd, is very intentional. The way that you get to see how powerful a creator you are can only come about this way. And it does allow resources and beings to step in and be seen that would not be able to be found any other way. So this is the way that I'm recognizing in my life things that don't always feel good and they're not my preference. I think that I would like it to be a different way. Yeah. I ask Spirit very intentionally to say, you know, this just really doesn't feel good to me, and I would really prefer this. So why are you having me do it this way? Go ahead and show me that so I can get whatever it is that I need to get, pick it up, and then let me try it a little differently. And you know what's funny? It totally conspires with me, and it allows me to do that. Yeah. And I just set the intentions. I speak to the universe as if it's my playmate, because I know that it is. Yeah. And I have a very casual way of being with it. I sometimes say it out loud, and that invites another listener that maybe doesn't talk to the universe this way to kind of go, what are you talking about? What are you doing?
I thought I was the only one that, I was the only one
just
that
watch me. You know, people say you can't do that. I'm like, oh, really? Because I'm getting ready to open up a big old can of love over here. Of, oh, yes, I can. Oh, sure you can. Trust you can. Because that's who I am. I know I can. And I'm doing it with the universe, God. You know, sometimes people think that, oh, you were born in this traditional Methodist religion, and now you've totally gone away from all of that. No. I've gotten a greater understanding of what has been left out. Yeah. You know, it's just, there's just more. I don't not believe some of the things that I got into agreement with about my creator and being in a loving relationship with, but I don't see myself as separate or it's outside of me. It's divinely inside of me. This platform is all really founded around, my divine beingness is, I'm a painter. An artist.
Yeah.
So this is my freedom flame. And I carry this around with me as a prop and take funny pictures. And because it is creating the freedom that I want to experience in my life and helping me create the universe that I want to feel, love and unity over fear and separation.
That
And
looks
then
like a powerful, yeah.
This is the match of inspiration. It's a magic stick. And we light and inspire one another by being our divine freedom flame. It ignites and amplifies the fire that is in another to make them go, what is it that sets me on fire? What is that passion? And we use triggers through heartversations, songs, paintings, emerging cartoons and film that are sensual experiences. These are not meant to be books first. One of my favorite authors still to this day is Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss, as many of us know.
I was just going to say, we're on the same wavelength. I was going to say those two, that fire, that match and brush, they look very powerful. And I was just going to make a joke because it popped in my head. I saw the Dr. Seuss hat and I thought, don't tell me you're going to turn me into the Cat in the Hat and stick that hat on me when I see you with those two powerful,
nothing against your free will. Nothing against your free will, right? If you want to put the hat on, you can. So these are powerful, and thank you for recognizing them because these are tools.
I can tell.
These are tools that we all have in our midst. Everybody's got a pencil. Do you know what you can draw to you with a pencil? The universe.
Yeah.
This is a tool of massive creation. We're utilizing these to dismantle the weapons of mass destruction.
Do you make those?
I do.
You make those? Yeah.
I do, but I co-create them because somebody has already manufactured this, and I drew it to me because I set the intention to find a really big pencil.
You put the
right,
nice.
And then it exists because someone else in the universe is picking up that vibration that I'm setting out there, and they just make it really easy for me because when you're building a whole universe, you can't do all of the parts by yourself. You just have to be able to do the part that is your part, and mine is being this clever communicator that's going to be sharing the message of pulling it all together because I have the vision to see it and the parts. And so when you show up in my space, and you being any you in the universe, when you show up to my line of sight and my space, and if I hear you, see you, feel you, taste, whatever it is, if you're a beautiful cook and I know that you are bringing about the culinary, like Laura and Tom Abraham that are in this utopic world that own a restaurant and have been building their business. Now it's manifested as Texas Beer Garden, but it's been a part of their vision and their journey all along to share the love that they are through the food, right?
Yeah.
You'll show up on my radar and I'm going to get into relation with you. And if it feels right to you, we're expanding this conversation. But these are extremely powerful tools of massive creation. The arts, you can write music, you can write.
Where can people find you? Where can people find you? Do you have a website?
I do have a website. It's definitely not going to, yes, www.theloveuse.com.
The love, what? The love?
Use, EWES.
EWES.com.
Yeah, let's not be sheep. Let's all be the divine you that we are. It plays phonetically on the word you. And
loveuse.com.
Yes. Now, what I'd also like to offer is I'd also like just to present my email address, which is k8@theloveuse.com.
All right, let's see.
Because the website is just real estate holding space right now. Right now.
You know what? Some people after 8 years still don't have one. So don't worry about it.
No, we're there.
So this is the Love Use, creating space to love yourself and all that is, home, our story. Contact us. Is that the email you're talking about?
Nope, not there. I just gave you my personal email, which is anybody that's on your show. Yeah. I would like them to contact me directly at the k8@theloveuse.com. I don't think anybody contacts me by accident. I live in a universe of no accidents.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. It doesn't mean that I can respond to everybody at one time, but I always am responding in divine time. Right. And we are, yeah, this is fun for me just to see that presented up on the screen. I have not been in that space where I'm creating this part of the Heartversation for some time, because I'm now in the alignment stage of what I'm doing, where this is not my focus. My focus right now is being that dream catcher that I just said to you. So I'm traveling the world right now, connecting with people all over the planet to bring in the different pieces of the puzzle.
When are you coming to Florida? I'm just curious.
Well, the answer to that question is I will be in Florida when I get the awareness and the knowing that I'm to be there. And it comes to me very intentionally. So funny that you bring up Florida, and I'll just ask the universe, when am I going to Florida? And then I will know when I'm going to Florida. Right.
I'd say about 3 weeks. Let's see.
The potential for everything exists for me. Everything moves and works in perfect order.
Yeah.
And I will have to think in 3 weeks, that puts us at about March 12th, 13th, 14th.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very high probability that I could be in Florida. It was actually something that was a one potential at one point. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, you never know. Well, sooner or later, we're all coming to the same party.
Oh, okay. We are.
What now, can you, before I forget, can you put your email in the comments after the show?
Okay.
And number one, and number two, what part of Houston are you living in? I'm just curious.
I live in 2 parts, because I'm in relation with a man that I'm down in the Clear Lake area. And then I am also in a community where my children are in school that is in the Sugarland area.
Sugarland and Clear Lake. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So you've got kids too while you're doing this.
So they're a huge part of the awakening. I can't believe that they didn't even come up to this point, but I'm a mother to 15-year-old triplets that are very enlightened children that reminded me who we are. Now
this is crazy. This is so cool. I'm so impressed. Okay. So you got 3 15-year-olds in school. You're doing everything you're doing.
2 girls
and you're in a relationship, and you're going through the ascension.
Amen. So it's like, don't wait. You begin where you are and you take one step.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do what you can with what you got where you're at right now. Now, would you, any of your 15-year-olds or all of your 15-year-olds, would y'all be interested in doing a show together and talking about what's happening?
At some point they may. They're somewhat guarded about this part of their mom, because so they don't really like to get out in the front. I don't know. Let me not speak for them. That's what
I wouldn't be surprised if they'd be up for 1 or 2 or 3 of them, because we've had some of these situations come up. And you know what I've found is that, and I don't know how many we've had in 1,700 shows, but there's been probably the 25, maybe, I don't know, young people, certainly a strong, dozen or 15. And what I found is they really have a lot. They don't speak a lot, but they have a lot to say, and they want to be heard. And it's time, I think, too. So, and if not next time we get together, we can talk about that. If I'd have known that, we'd have spent 10 or 15 minutes on that, because I'm sure that's a huge part of your journey, like you just
massive. Yeah. It's massive. It's so massive. When I tell you that they are galactic beings that were speaking to me from the time that they were very little, that started making me go, what are you talking about? We need to listen to our children. That is one of the messages that I have. And I really encourage people, please don't discount it and say, oh, that's just someone's imagination. Please start to understand what is the imagination, because where I'm living inside of my reality now, I can no longer tell what is the imagination and what is real, where it first begins, because the line is anything that is going to be brought about begins in the imagination. So it's already real. It's just in that state. And when you take inspired action to call it forward and bring it out in alternative ways, then it becomes something more. But it's not that it's not real now. It's real. I already see so many things manifested, because as you said, on timeline moving, yes, that sounds weird to me from the standpoint of who I was 10 years ago. But now that I experientially do it, know it, be it, it's not weird to me anymore. And I am creating utopia by going to it in an alternative reality. and seeing it already complete and then bringing back the parts. But that's still me developing that part of me. I'm only newly aware of that happening. And so, like anything, you practice and play with it and you kind of go, okay, that's cool. Let's do that again.
And the math's different, where it's quantum, so the progress accelerates dramatically, and that's why I said I think it's, it's almost like a montage, like if you're watching a montage on a movie and it just starts moving faster, 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 until it just kind of like goes through Mach 22.
I see that film that you talk about. I see it literally. I see film rolling.
Yeah. So we'll have to get together again. We just started. We've got what now? We've got 15 plus 31. We got 46, 47 days of internet. Great internet. Thank you, beloved sister Karen. And I just want to say that. So we're going to be doing a lot of shows. This is the first show for the next 47 days. We're probably going to do, I would imagine. I imagine we'll do 100 easy. But anyway, so we got 2 more shows today. We're going to get back together with Kate. Morgan will be picking up the scheduling when she gets back. She's in Kansas City visiting a friend. And so we've got Lawrence Wendell coming on in 50 minutes and Rick Jewers coming on 2 hours after that. And tomorrow we have an all-day event. We're going to be streaming a soul gathering with the Lamplight group, Jeremy McDonald. So we're going to have music, a little bit of conscious rap, and whoever shows up with whatever instruments, you're just going to do it Soulogy style and make it up as we go as usual. Kate, I want to say this has been a really great pleasure. I think there's a reason it took this long for us to actually do this, but I can see us doing it again and again. So,
I love it. I love playing with the genius of you, Todd. I enjoy watching how you draw out of beings unique ways of having the conversation, but what you and I just exchanged, I'm so grateful for. Thank you for.
Me too.
Best
to you and your partner and your children and everything that you're doing. I look forward to getting together with you again. You take care.
Likewise.